Hi, everybody. It's us. Welcome to the Our Turf Football College Edition podcast. How we doing out there tonight, boys and girls? Hope you're ready to talk about some good college football. And a couple of teams that, well, at least one team for me. I don't know about you, Michelle, but one team for me that not too many people are talking about at all with our player who's doing well. So I'm really excited about that. So yay. Welcome, everybody. Michelle, hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Oh, I see you have a Detroit hat on. I love
Well,
that.
I'm sending little subliminal messages, but since we're not talking pro sports, you get the message.
I, I was about to say, I hope you're not too mad at me. Sorry. Anyways, okay.
I'm happy for you. I'm always happy for you. And I know this is not what we're talking about, but I didn't have a problem with them doing all the little petty things they were doing in the game, running up the score, doing trick plays with the linemen. I'm like, there's still time on the clock. Do what you got to do.
Exactly. Well, glad to be back. Kate had to step away tonight, had some other things going on, and that's okay because, it's still a dynamic duo and we can still talk some college football. So yeah. Hello, Kim. How are you? If you are over on our Facebook or our Twitter, we invite you to come over to our YouTube channel so that you can interact with us on YouTube. We love it. We can post your comments like so. Hi, Kim. And we can interact. Y'all can ask questions. We can answer. So yeah, let's get into it. Got a big game coming up this weekend. Georgia, Texas. Now, at the beginning of the season, that was the marquee matchup. This was going to be it. However, college football happened, and it's not the matchup that we intended it to be. But still, it is going to be a very good matchup. Michelle, what do you think about this game?
Well, I think during our first week, we talked about Texas. Maybe like the second week, we talked about how good Texas looked, and we marked this date on our calendar for this game, and I still think it's a big game. I still think it's a big game because no matter what, Texas still has to prove that they can do two things. They can beat Georgia, they can beat Alabama if they have to play Alabama, right? And so here's their chance to beat Georgia. I know Georgia lost the game, and Georgia really hasn't looked as great, since they started. They whooped up on Clemson and whoever they played. That loss to Alabama, at least them trying to come back, but they're still Georgia. They're still the defending champions. They're still Michigan's defending champion. They still recently won a championship, so they've been in the game. Let's put it that way. They've been in the championship games, and they played in the championship games. They won a championship, and Texas is sort of the newcomer in the SEC. Coming in to show that we do things big in Texas, and we're going to show you guys what we're made of. And I, for one, they've been my favorite. I've been saying this, I guess, every week that I feel like I was upset when they moved Alabama above Texas because Texas has proven to be the top team until they lose. But this is still going to be the test for them. And everybody's sitting in quietly waiting to see, can they beat Georgia? Because we're talking about now the elite teams of the SEC. That's Georgia and that's Alabama and probably sometimes LSU. So you can beat those teams. You can beat those teams. Then you become a part of that top tier of the SEC. And now coming from the big, what conference were they in? 12, 10, the Big 12. Coming from the 12.
Big 12.
The Big 12, those conferences didn't get the respect that the SEC used to get. When we only had 4 teams and then playing for the championship. Now you have 12 teams, but now Texas is here. They have their fans, they got their crowd, they got their QB, they got viewers, they're ready. And I think this is a big game for them more so than it is for Georgia.
I agree. I agree 1,000% wholeheartedly. I think that this is going to be their coming out, if you will, in the SEC. This is their chance, like you said, to show that they are here and that they are a complete team and that they mean it. And I think they do. I think they are the more complete team over Georgia. I think this is still going to be a good game. And even if Georgia puts on that second, like they did against Alabama, that second half performance, I think this is going to be a tough game, but a good one. A good one.
And yeah, because one thing about both of these teams is they're going to play to the end. They're playing to
Mm-hmm.
the final whistle, and so both teams have to be ready. I don't know. I'm kind of thinking it might be a slow defensive game, but you never know. Georgia, they play their defense, and sometimes these games are a little score. But Texas, they're winning all their games by about 19 points or so. So, we'll see how that goes. I don't think it'll be a blowout. I'm hoping for a close game, and I think it'll be a little closer than people think.
Really?
But I'm
I don't
going
think
with
it'll.
Texas.
Yeah, I'm going with Texas. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like you. I think 27-20. What do you think?
Okay. I'm going to go. Let's go from me. I'm going to say 31-29.
Ooh. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a real good one.
Mark that down, Kristen, Kim, Terrence, 31-29. That's what I have. And Sonya had what?
27-20.
27-20. There we go.
There we go. It's going to be a good game. I'm trying to see who is going to be my quarterback for that game. It's Quinn, right?
Quinn, it should be Quinn. Yeah, he
Okay, I
came
was
back
about to
last
say it
week
should.
and played pretty good. So yeah, it should be him moving forward. The coach has made that clear. He is the starting quarterback. So, Manning only if he limps off, we'll see the field.
And even then, he still might not see the field.
This is true.
Yes, we've got juicy predictions. Juicy predictions. This is going to be a good game. We got our popcorn ready. This might even be a game that we might live tweet. I have to think about it. I have to work on Sunday early. We'll see.
Well, we definitely will be watching this one for sure.
Oh, for sure. I was about to
Yeah.
say I might have to take the L and just stay up a little later, but that'll be okay. That will be okay. So yeah, another team that's undefeated that Michelle wanted to get into, and I like this one, is Iowa State. Iowa State Cyclones. I did a travel assignment in Des Moines one year, a couple years ago, and yeah, big Iowa. It was Des Moines, so yes, everybody was an Iowa State fan, so that was kind of fun. But they're 5-0 this year, and they are
6-0.
ranked. Huh? They're
6-0.
6-0. They're 6-0. That's right. I'm sorry. They're 6-0, and they're ranked 9th so far this season. And are they as good as their 6-0 record? I think they are. I think they are. I think they started off a little rocky, but they've played well every game. I think that they have had. I think the one that was the biggest test was the Iowa game. They came back nicely in that game, and I think that kind of sealed the deal. Everybody else, they've just put the beat down on. What do you think, Michelle?
Well, when you think of Iowa in itself, you don't think of Iowa State. So they're like a little stepchild. So them coming back and beating Iowa made a statement for them. Those are in-state rivals. So you love that they put the whipping on West Virginia and everybody else that they played so far. Now the first thing everybody's gonna say, yeah, they're 6-0. They're in the Big 12. And they played North Dakota, Iowa, Arkansas State, Houston, Baylor, and West Virginia. Okay. And so you look at that list and you're like, oh, not a big team, but you got to beat the people that's in front of you. Exactly. And they play UCF this week. This is their first time. This is the first meeting between the two schools. In fact, Iowa State can go 7-0, and this would be their first time since like 1938 or something like that before we were thought of. So you see how big of this is a big game for them coming up. But are they as good as they are? I don't know. But what we do know is that defense of theirs has been the one that's been leading them to these victories. I mean, They start out a little slow, but in the second half, they clamp down, and that's when they're stopping everybody. I mean, they lead the Big 12 in several categories. You know, they give up about 11 points a game. That leads the Big 12. They're fifth nationally in 11 points a game. But in the second half, that goes down to like 4.3 points. And then they're giving up about 285 yards a game. That leads the Big 12, but in the second half, that goes down to like 121 yards.
My
So
God.
this is as the game goes on, that defense gets better and better, and they're gonna need all of that defense to stop UCF and that UCF running game this weekend. So I'm excited to see. I hope that they can end up in the Big 12 championship if they keep going. I think the more meat of their schedule will come as in these next few weeks. But so far, so good for Iowa State, and with 12 teams being in the playoffs now, this is how you prove to us if you're as good as you say.
Exactly. And I was looking at their schedule, and like you said, it's not been any difficult team. They haven't played a ranked team, and the only team that they are going to play that is currently ranked is Kansas State at the end of the season. That's our last
Iowa was ranked when they played them. Iowa
that's right.
Ranked. Yeah, they were like 21 or 20 or something like that when they played them.
But yeah, so that's it. But like you said, you got to play the schedule that is in front of you, and that could change it any second. But because upsets happen any given Saturday, right? But like you said, their defense has been great, kept them in those games, and just let the offense do their thing. And I think UCF's offense is kind of high flying, even though they are 3-3. So this will be a good test for their defense. So I think they are as good as their 6-0 record.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing for them. There's 7 of their games this year are at home. So when you play that many home games, that helps your record a lot. They only play like 4 games on the road.
Let's see.
That's
pretty
right.
One, Iowa's on the road. Houston was on the road. West Virginia
was on the road.
Yep. Kansas will be on the road.
And most of the rest of them are home, I guess.
Yeah, and Utah will be on the road. So 2 more home games, 2 more away games. The rest of them are home games.
So that's always helpful.
It is always helpful.
That Kansas game was it Kansas State or Kansas that they played?
Well, they're going to play both Kansas
Kansas
and
right,
Kansas.
Big 12. Yep.
So they're going to play Kansas at Kansas, and then they're going to play Kansas State at home at Iowa State. So
I think that Kansas State's going to be a big game for them.
That's going to be a huge game.
Yep, I can't wait for that one.
Yes, because Kansas State right now is 5-1. So it's going to be
that's what I'm saying. That Iowa State, Kansas State. Mark that down. We're going to have that on our list when it comes.
Yeah. Sure. Oh, yes, we are. That's also the other game that's being played that day too. There's another game that's being played that day. So maybe we will just have to focus on Kansas State, Iowa State, because there's another game being played.
What game is that?
I don't know.
Does it involve Michigan and somebody, Ohio State or something like that?
It involves Michigan and that team down south.
Well, I'll have them both on, so we'll do that.
Yes. Michelle, I swear you have Buffalo Wild Wings going on in your house.
You got to see it.
I do. I need to come up and see that so I can just be like, yes, I have been in Michelle's sports den. That's what I'm calling it.
Welcome to the Sports Jinx.
Yes. I love it. I love it. So we talked about that. Did you have any standout players from this past week? We're just flying through our little agenda.
We are. Standout players.
We can talk some rankings after that. Yeah.
My standout player, I'm going to go with Quinn Ewers just because we talked about Texas and he came back from an injury and had to step in and play in a big game. And he did pretty well coming back in. And, it started out a little slow and then they just took off. They did what Texas does. And so he looked pretty good coming back from an injury. And I think everybody was waiting to see because we even talked about this on our show. It was like, wow, if he comes back in and plays bad and they don't win, then everybody's going to want Manning out there. And that's a lot of pressure. And so I think he
That
came
is.
back and he played well and he was comfortable and the team, rallies around him. And so he will be my standout for last week, I thought. He had like
Okay.
199 yards, a couple of
Mhm.
touchdowns and things like that. So he did pretty good. Hmm.
I love that. And then oh shoot, hang on. So last night on the podcast, actually after our podcast was over, Dana, if y'all know, Dana's on our podcast. She I think went to Montana State in Montana. And so she was like, yeah, they're undefeated this year. And they
Hmm.
are. They're in the FCS and they are in the Mountain West, I do believe.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And they are undefeated. And so I started looking at some of their tape and just some of their players and stuff, because that's what we like to do too. We love the SEC. We love the Big Ten. We love the Big 12 and the Pac 2 and whatever else you got. But we're also here to glorify and talk about the other smaller schools. And so that was one. And their tight end, hang on, I'm gonna tell you his name. Is it Mr. Higgins? Oh gosh, I'm gonna tell you the tight end's name. But he is the leading receiver on their team. Oh gosh, hang on, you guys. I should have written it down. It's been that kind of day for me. I'm gonna look it up though. They're undefeated. He's their leading receiver. Their quarterback is dynamic as well.
Hmm.
And their quarterback is Tommy Mellett. He has thrown for about a bajillion yards this season. He is doing great, but their tight end, hang on. I gotta look this up now.
Well, when you look at a lot of these NFL rosters, if you would go
Mm-hmm.
through the rosters, you're going to see a lot of these players from these FCS schools, and they don't get the airplay that the FBS teams get. But they have solid players on these teams, and they've always played the college football playoffs, and it included all of their top teams. So we're actually
Yes.
going through their model. And remember how I talked about it in the beginning with
Mm-hmm.
North Dakota State and South. Who was that playing North Carolina? I'm like, that's not going to be an easy game. It may be an upset. And it started out a little close. I thought I was going to look like a hero, but then they lost. But it was a close game. So Montana State is like third right now in the FCS polls,
Mm-hmm.
behind South Dakota State and North Dakota State, and those teams are always up there. It's always those teams, at least those three teams in there. But shout out to North Carolina Central, who's
Yes.
in there in the top 20.
Oh, look at that. It
Yep,
was
and the
Rohan
Florida
Jones.
A&M Rattlers, who are also in the top 25. So,
It was Rohan Jones. Rohan. I'm going to say it's Rohan Jones. He's the
mhm.
tight end for Montana State Bobcats, 6'3", 235. This season, he is caught for 254 yards, 5 touchdowns, 16 receptions. He's going to be on somebody's NFL roster one day, I think. He has played very well. Solid player, solid receiver on that team. So, yeah, looking forward to see. He's a junior, so he could come out this year potentially. But, we'll see him, I think, hopefully on an NFL roster. But yes, shout out to you, Rohan Jones. I'm sorry it took me so long to
I know a team
remember
or
your
two that can
name.
use them.
Yeah, yeah, a good tight end. That'd be helpful.
Yeah.
I love you, Michelle.
If you guys notice, I'm wearing this Detroit hat just to honor Sonya because she is a Detroit Lions fan, and I'm not going to say what they did to my Dallas Cowboys because this is a college show. But I just put this on because even though
Because
this represents Detroit Pistons, but it says
I was
Detroit.
about to
That's
say
what
that looked awful, kind of pistonish.
yeah.
So yes, NBA season is getting started too. But yeah, okay. So let's take a peek at the rankings from this week.
Mm-hmm.
See if there was any major changes, which I don't think there were any
Nothing. Well,
humongous
any
changes.
major changes or anything we don't really agree with. Texas is number
Ah,
one. And as they should be, they're 6-0. We still got Oregon in number 2, and Penn State, who just keeps finding a way to win.
right.
Every game. I mean, that game last week. Oh my God, that was one of the best games on last week. The way they came back, I don't
Mhm.
know how they did it, but I was like, oh, Penn State's about to go down. And then I just, for some reason, I wouldn't change. Normally, if the game's a blowout or it looks like it's going to be, I'll change to another game. I
Mhm.
left it, and I'm so glad I did. And so I'm so glad that one of the best games on. So you got Penn State, then Ohio State at number
They
4.
didn't drop as far as I thought they would,
Yeah,
but it's okay because that was still a close game. It was actually was a very close game.
yeah, it was, and they shouldn't have dropped them. They're playing number 2 team. I mean, they're playing a
Mhm.
highly ranked team, so I don't think they should have dropped too far. You have Georgia at number 5, Alabama,
Yep.
the U at 6,
The
and
who?
Alabama at 7.
Yes.
And then LSU, Iowa State, and then Clemson to do the top 10.
To the top 10.
Clemson.
Yeah.
Did anybody think?
Um,
Let's talk about Clemson for a minute because the way Clemson got beat in the opening. Remember, I was trying to get North Carolina. Who did I say was going to beat Clemson? And they've been going
App
up
State.
ever since I
You
ever
said App
since I
State was
made
gonna
that
do
prediction. It's
it.
like they heard me, but they've been going up ever since then. So they haven't
They have.
dropped the game since the first game, and they're
Oh,
looking
no.
better every week.
They are, and that's what you like, right? You like them to kind of peak and get there towards the end of the season. So there's that. LSU made a huge jump. They jumped up 5 spots
They
actually
did.
to the number 8 spot. So that was big. That was
Tennessee
real big.
dropped down. Tennessee at number 11.
Mhm.
And they have a pretty big game this weekend as well.
Who do they have? Do they have
Who is it?
Alabama? Yeah, they
Yeah,
got
they're
Bama.
playing correct. So
They
they have
got
a pretty
Bama.
good because this game can go either way for both of them.
Literally.
This is a big game for both of them. I don't know the
Mhm.
last time Alabama has beaten Tennessee has beaten Alabama, but I
It was
think
a couple years ago.
it's a big game. They upset them.
Yeah, not last year, but the year before, I
Well,
think.
Alabama have that on their mind, and they may have an opportunity to do that. And it all just depends on both quarterbacks because they're iffy between each game, so you never know what you're gonna see with them.
Mhm.
So
That
then we
is
got
true.
Notre Dame, who's at 12,
Yep.
and BYU,
Texas A&M.
ATM, Texas A&M,
Mhm.
Boise State, who I refuse to watch because their field is blue.
That's the
Indiana.
best field to watch.
It's not. It's not. It blends in with the uniforms. I can't tell anything, and it should be an NCAA violation. But that's just my opinion. Uh, and then they have Indiana,
Look
Kansas
at
State.
Indiana.
Yes,
Wow.
undefeated Indiana.
The
They're 6-0.
undefeated Indiana,
That's right. We talked
that
about Indiana a couple of weeks ago, whether they were for real.
as of now, I think so. I
Okay.
mean, they've always, and my reference obviously is just watching them with Michigan, and they've always played Michigan tough. Always. That has always been a dogfight. And so, yeah, I got handed to them. I think they're good. They do. Let's see, who do they have? They have Nebraska this weekend. So that's actually probably going to be a pretty decent game, too.
Yep, and we'll see how that works for them because that's how you prove. You have to beat the names of the teams that people know or that
Mhm.
people are familiar. Even though Nebraska's not very good or Nebraska's not as good as they've been in the past, it's still Nebraska. And so when Indiana plays Nebraska, we want to see if Indiana's going to beat Nebraska, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then you got
Exactly.
Kansas State, who I don't know. I just enjoy watching them play. Um, and then Ole Miss, who's been a surprise. Oh man, tough game. That last game last week. That was another good one.
Yeah,
That was
that
another
was a
good one.
good one.
Yeah, that was another good one. And Missouri, Illinois, Army has made it into the top 25. And
Army.
Navy. Look at that.
Yeah, Army
Army
and
and Navy.
Navy. And who's in between them?
Michigan.
Michigan.
They still holding on. They don't want to kick them all the way out. They just
They
holding.
don't.
So
They got to come
They,
correct
they
this
keep giving
weekend,
them an
though.
opportunity to stay in, but I think one more loss may drop them down, but we'll see.
We will see. That's going to be an interesting game this weekend, I think. Now, see, Kate and I were talking about possibly in the next couple weeks talking about like your favorite traditions in college football, because that's what college football is traditions, and
Mm-hmm.
who's got some of the best ones. And you know what I'm going to say? Yes. You know why? When I was a kid, I don't know, I saw a Hurricanes game or something, and I saw them run out of the tunnel, and they were at
And
home
all
and
of
they
the
had
smoke.
the steam and the smoke, and I was like, oh, Dad, that is so cool. And he was like, yeah, it is, isn't it? And then just kind of moved on to the next thing. But I used to think that that was the coolest thing ever. And how could I be around something like that? I didn't go to Miami, and I haven't gone
Well,
to Miami.
there's only one Miami. But I think everybody's tried to emulate it. But
But that's cool. I think I like that one. That's always been like one of the ones that kind of stuck back. There's a couple others that I love. Obviously, running down and touching the Go Blue Club supports you sign. One day I will do that too.
mm-hmm.
Um, I think I'm gonna play the lottery,
Uh-oh.
and when I win, I'm gonna go to all the college stadiums and then do the tradition
And
with
do the tradition? Okay. That's
Mhm.
something I wanted to do with the pro stadiums. It's less of them, so
It's a little bit easier
yeah, maybe.
with the pro ones. I
It
think.
depends.
I think.
So we have our games. Do we have our games that we're
No,
gonna do?
let's talk about our games. So, okay, hang on. This weekend, big weekend coming up.
So we already
So,
know that Georgia and Alabama,
Georgia and Texas.
Georgia and Texas is one of our
Probably gonna
games
be, yep, probably gonna be the one that everybody wants to watch.
that
But
everybody wants us to watch.
we'll throw out a couple other ones just in case. Let's see. So, Nebraska, Indiana. That might be a pretty good game. I
It
know.
may be.
And then Alabama, Tennessee. That's the afternoon game. They
Is
are
that
at
true?
Tennessee. Yeah.
Those are both SEC games, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ooh, and then Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. That might be an actually pretty good game
Georgia
too.
Tech, Notre Dame.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
It may be. Hopefully Notre Dame. Yeah, maybe not. We have oh man, I can't believe Mississippi State is 1-5. I think this Iowa State UCF game is going to be a good game, even
Okay.
though they're 3-3.
I think
Um,
it will be because, like we said, their offense is
I
on
think it's going to
fire.
be big game for them. And UCF wasn't able to win last week.
So
Miami
yeah, let's
plays Louisville. They're on the road. That's a noon game.
that is a noon
So
game.
that's been a pretty good game. So far you have Indiana, and we have Indiana and Nebraska, right?
Indiana, Nebraska, yep.
Georgia and
Texas.
Texas. And what was the other
Yeah.
game we picked? Did you say Notre Dame and Georgia Tech?
Notre Dame and Tech or
And Alabama
Alabama,
and
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah.
You want to do Georgia Tech or Georgia Notre Dame Tech, Notre Dame, Georgia Tech,
Notre Dame and Georgia Tech, and Alabama and Tennessee.
Tennessee. Those will be the ones. Those will be our ones. We're gonna vote on those.
That'll be it.
That'll be it. See, I think I like Tennessee, Alabama. I think that's gonna be a good one.
I think that's going to be a good one.
That's
As
gonna be
far
a
as
good one.
Jackson State versus Florida A&M versus Jackson State, that's going to be a big
Oh,
one in
that's gonna
HBCU
be a good
football.
one. That's gonna be real good, isn't it?
That's
Where are they
right.
playing?
They are
Are they
playing in Jackson, Mississippi.
okay?
So I think that's
Okay.
going to be a good. Florida A&M is coming off a bye week, so this should be good. They played some great games in the past, and so you got, I guess, both bands. I'm not sure if the 100 is traveling or not, but I think that's going to be a big one in HBCU football
Oh,
this
for
year.
sure. Let me see. Where are my friends, the Pirates? Where are my friends, the Pirates? Oh wait, hang on. I did.
And that's a
Oh.
3:30 Eastern time kickoff for FAMU and Jackson State.
So okay, here we go. We have this is Hampton A&T.
Yes.
Yes, Hampton, North Carolina A&T. That's going to be a good game. They're playing at North Carolina A&T. A&T, I think, are they back? Are they in the Big
This might
South
be
now?
is this homecoming for North Carolina A&T?
I think that might be homecoming for A&T because next week is homecoming for Hampton. We're
Oh,
playing
look at
on
there.
them. Yeah. So this week I think is A&T's homecoming. And I heard they have a great homecoming. Have you been?
I've been a couple of times. Yep.
Is it great?
So
I've heard it's like amazing.
it's good. It's really good. It's really good. It's really good. So the Jackson State and the Florida A&M game, these are both this game right here probably decides who wins the SWAC East division.
Mhm.
Both of them right now are undefeated in the
Lord.
conference. For FAMU's only played one game in the conference so far, but they're
But
1-0.
still.
And Jackson State's 2-0. But in the past, over the last 3 years, whoever has won this game has decided which team will go and play for the championship. So we're going to see what happens. Jackson State won 2, FAMU won the last one last year, and they
Mhm.
went. The two that Jackson State won, they ended up in the Celebration Bowl. The one that FAMU won, they ended up in the Celebration Bowl. So we'll see what this game's hold this week.
Perfect. It's gonna be those two are gonna be some great games, I think. So HBCU fans, get ready, enjoy some great football this weekend. We're all gonna enjoy some great football. It's gonna be a good football weekend this weekend, guys. A good
It
college
is.
football weekend. I
Because
can't
we're
wait.
getting closer. It's almost time for us to make our top 12 predictions. So we're getting closer.
Okay, we are getting real close. When is that? Is that the first weekend in November? Is that when the rankings like the
I think somewhere around
I
that
think
time.
so. Yeah. All right.
Kristen has already said Tennessee versus Alabama or Iowa State and Florida State.
I agree. It's not gonna be I say this I think it's gonna be Tennessee, Alabama, but that's just me. What do I
Yep.
know? All right, you guys. Well, it has been another fun week talking some college football. We will be back, same back time, same back place next week so we can talk about what all went down with Tennessee, Alabama, with Georgia, Texas. I think these are going to be some great games. Maybe one day we'll have to go live during the game, but that's just me talking.
Oh, no, that
All
was
right. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being here as always. And guys, thank you everybody for watching us. Kim, Kristen, Terrence, we see you. Thank y'all so much. And we will see you next week. Bye,
we
guys.
miss you, Kate.
We
Bye.
miss you, Kate. Love you, Kate. Bye.